All right. So I'm going to get going because I want to respect your time. And if you're joining me here this morning, thank you for joining me. And please do leave me some hearts and likes so I can see you and just say hi. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Adrienne Bradley, and I am your host for the Daycare Q&A Show. And I want to thank you for joining me here today. I am the founder of Thriving Childcare, and thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. So if you are joining me, again, leave me some hearts and likes. I just want to say hi. And if you're watching the replay, please just type replay in the comments so I can say hi to you as well, even afterwards, okay? So we are going to get started. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to be looking at another screen because we are going to be talking about a lot of questions today, or as many questions as we can. We're going to go for a half an hour today, so I'm going to try and get in as many questions as I can. We did have some questions submitted by fellow daycare owners, so I wanted to get to as many as I can. Let's see. Okay, so, but before we get into the questions, let me just say that's what we do here. So this show, and I'm going to take my glasses off because I know that the glare prevents you from seeing me, although I can't see without these, so I'm going to put them back on, but whenever I can, I'll take them off so you can actually see me. I found out the glare is coming from my screen, and I have something coming that will reduce that, or actually probably get rid of it, but we don't have that today. And one more thing. In the premiere episode, I talked about how on this show I wanted to have a way for providers to not only join me live, but also, if they can't join me live, to be able to submit their questions early, and also to be able to call into the show, kind of like old school talk show days where they would call in with their issues. So we do have a way for you to submit your questions early, and I'll leave that link in the show notes here today. So next week, if you want to submit a question for next week's show, you can do that. We are still working on the setup for you being able to call into the show, and that'll be coming soon. And I'll keep you updated on that, okay? Because that's really important to me too. I want you to be able to interact any which way you can, and if you can't, be able to watch the replay later, but still, if you submit your question, you can still get your question answered on the show and then watch it later, okay? All right, so that's enough of the housekeeping today. I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can read the questions. So the first question is by an anonymous daycare owner, and she said, how can I make sure my daycare always has enough kids while providing quality care? So the next question kind of goes into this as well. That's kind of the conundrum with all of us daycare owners, right? How do we keep our spots filled? How do we find new families? How do we market our business so that we don't have what most of us recognize as the roller coaster effect, where you're full and everything's on a high note and then it dips. I just talked to a colleague of mine earlier, I think it was earlier this week, it might have been last week, and she was saying that she's losing 8 children this year. And she's a home daycare owner, so you have to know, even though I'm sure she has the larger license, that's still a significant number of clients that you need to kind of replace, right? So that's what most of us deal with at some point. Not always. Sometimes it'll seem like everything's great, and then I actually wrote about this years ago. It's what I call the Great Exodus, because I had the similar thing happen, and I had the kids were all the same age, and it was really cool because they were all learning at the same time, the same things, and it was just a really interactive and fun environment. But then one said they were leaving, then another said they were leaving, and another was moving out of town, and they were hitting that age where they aged out, but they all aged out at once. And so it kind of made me aware of something that I needed to do moving forward, which was to market all the time. No matter if I had a spot or not, market all the time. And you might say, well, Adrienne, why would I do that if I don't have a spot? Well, you can start a waiting list. We have seen over the past few years the awareness, and I can take my glasses off for this, the awareness of the need for childcare, right? So there's a good possibility that people don't necessarily need childcare today, but they might need it in a few months. Especially when we talk about infant care, you could be dealing with families that are pregnant now, and they won't have a need for several months, but when they do, I've said they don't want to be scrambling to find somebody, and to find somebody who even has an opening, somebody who they want, who has quality care, but who actually has an opening. So there's one reason you might want to continuously market, because you want to, get ahead of any openings. So if you have a child, for instance, that is going to age from infant to toddler, and you know when that's going to happen, then you can market that your opening will be available in, say, August, okay? Because you know that child is going to move over to a toddler space, if you will, in August. So that leaves that infant space vacant. So you can start marketing for that. And like I said, I would say market all the time, because if you, let's say that you do have someone who comes to you today and needs care immediately, but you don't have an opening. Well, chances are you have a network of colleagues like I do that you can reach out to, and you can refer those families to them. And it's another way of fostering this really great community between providers. And there might become a time when they can do the same for you. So there's another reason to market all of the time. But specifically, I would say, even if it's not paid advertising, because if you don't have a spot open, maybe you don't want to pay for paid advertising all of the time. But there are free methods out there. You have probably a Facebook page or social media that you can constantly be talking about your business, be talking about activities and things that are going on at your daycare, and talk about summer activities. We're in the summer now. Today is the first day of summer. Talk about some of the plans that you have for the summer. Maybe we all have to be careful with pictures of the children, but we can show pictures of their projects and activities. So find a way, even if it's just one way, to be constantly marketing your business. If you go old school and hand out flyers, that's cool too. You can still do that. A lot of us think that digital and being online is the only way to do it nowadays, but people are getting kind of, a friend of mine was reminding me, people are getting kind of exhausted with the online space all the time, and they're going backwards to more, hands-on, or if you will, ground roots type of things, where it's more personal interaction. So hand out flyers, take them to some of the doctor's office, dentist's office. There may be some play spaces in your community. See if you can drop off your flyer or your business card there. If you can't, make them aware that you exist. And maybe if they have a client that comes in and happens to be talking about their need for childcare, they would be willing to refer them to you. So there's a few ways that you can market your business all the time, and that's what I would suggest, because you at some point, whatever clients you have now will leave. And I know it comes as a shock. It came as a shock to me too, but that's why when I wrote that, the mass exodus, it was kind of like an awakening, an awareness to me. And I remember at the time talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying that I needed to find new clients. And she was like, you want more? You want more kids? And I was like, they don't stay. I don't have an extended college program. So at some point, all of these clients are going to leave. And I just think that that's an awareness that we need to have, so that we understand that we need to continuously market. Okay? So let me jump into the next question. I don't want to run out of time because we do have more than a few today. Okay. So the next question kind of relates to the first one. She says, and I don't know if it's a she or not, it's anonymous, but they say, any ideas on how to attract new families to my daycare without breaking the bank? Okay, so I kind of addressed that in the first question. Again, market all the time. Find different ways to market. You don't necessarily have to have paid advertising, like I said, but things like Craigslist still exist, and I know that sounds really antiquated, but it's free, okay? And the other thing about that is it kind of puts your business on the map online. The more times something's mentioned, the more the algorithm or the Google gods will be able to find you. And speaking of Google, I have a free training that will actually show you how to put up a Google ad. And it stays up, I think it stays up for like 4 months, and then you have to just go back and refresh it. But it's really easy to do. It's kind of like putting an ad up on Craigslist or any place else you would put it, but it's also free. And again, because it's on Google, of course you can imagine when somebody's searching for childcare in your community, Google, because you know you have this online presence, even just a little bit, is going to be able to point to your business. I remember some years back, long before the pandemic, I had a father who in the summer had custody of his son, and he was actually a utility worker, and he was working on the streets not too far from my house, and he needed childcare for his son during the summer months. And he Googled me. I always ask, how do people find my business? How did they find my business? And he said he Googled. Well, because he was in close proximity, he said I came up on the first page. I was number one. So understanding that even though we're not world-class techie people, maybe, we can still use this online space to help promote our business, okay? So I'll leave a link to that free training in the show notes here, so you can go and look at that and maybe get that Google ad up. But there are these different free ways. I also had a blog post years ago of free ways to market your business. So again, if you don't have a Facebook page for your business, I would suggest that for sure. If you don't want to get into all the social media, that's fine. But having a Facebook page up for your business is a really good way to constantly be marketing you as well. So that's my answer for that. And please let me know how you're feeling about some of these things. These are some of the ways that have worked for me. They may not work for everyone, but I just want to kind of give you different ideas. Sometimes we can't. I know I talk to friends of mine and I say, oh, I might bring a question to them or some problem or issue I'm dealing with, and they'll have a perspective that I never would have thought of. And it's probably because I'm right in the thick of it, and I'm thinking of other things and I'm not thinking clearly, or I just don't have the objectivity that they have because it's not necessarily their issue. So they can see things that I can't see. So hopefully some of these things will resonate with some of you. But, you know, again, it won't work for everyone, but just to kind of get the ideas flowing, okay? So, next question. Can you help me navigate the licensing rules and regulations without getting overwhelmed? Now, that's another issue that most of us have to deal with. If you're a licensed provider, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of a nerve-wracking thing. And, I mean, I guess it's because, you know, it's the authoritative body over most of our licenses. So we do get a little nervous that we are going to have issues with licensing. But I'll tell you, after being in business for many years, I realized for myself I needed to come up with a process that was, again, an ongoing process. Years ago, I wrote about this as well, someone commented and said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And I thought that was so on point, because a lot of times we're thinking, oh, I've got to get ready for licensing. My visit's coming up, and I know that it's going to be soon. And of course, most of our visits are surprise visits. They don't announce them. So we get nervous about that, and just that element of it can make you, jittery. But if you have a process that you continuously do to make sure you stay in compliance, then whenever that knock comes at the door, you know that you're ready because you stayed ready, right? So I actually have a challenge that I believe it's a 7-day challenge. Yeah, I think it is 7 days. And it walks you through each element that licensing would be looking at when they come. So it helps you get ready. It helps you to get your paperwork organized. It helps you to keep your paperwork organized, I should say. It helps you to keep your home compliant. We live in our workspace for those of us who have home childcare. So it can be kind of challenging to make sure that everything stays the same when we're living in the space with our families. I know that when I'm vacuuming, I have to pull some of those plugs off the wall, those safety plugs for the kids. I have to pull those off the wall so I can use my vacuum. Well, in the challenge, it helps you to go through the process of making sure that all that stuff is put back. So if some chemicals had to come out because we were cleaning the house over the weekend, we make sure this process helps you. Well, it helps you create your own process to make sure that those things go back and you stay in compliance with your license. So whether or not you take the challenge or not, and again, I'll leave that in the show notes as well. And that's a free challenge. You can go take that, and you can repeat it until you get your own process down, or you can just repeat it every month. And that's the thing. If you do it every month, then, like I said, when they come to the door, you're not so concerned. I won't say you won't be all the way nervous. I mean, I don't think there was ever a time that I was just completely relaxed and not worried about a thing, because most of the at least for me, most of the LPAs, the workers, were different every time, and their mindset and view can be very subjective. You never know what one person is going to see, and another person just won't. I'm sorry, I'm squinting because I'm trying to read something that someone else wouldn't see. So I'm never absolutely certain how things will come out, but I will tell you, I know they've changed things in the past few years, but I had one licensing visit that was 20 minutes. I had all of my paperwork organized and accessible I pulled them right out. And the challenge helps you go through and create this whole process for yourself too. But I was ready, and I was so happy when she left. It was the best feeling to know that, oh, I was so ready that she didn't even have to stay that long. So anyway, so that's what I would suggest, is to keep yourself ready at all times. Okay, don't get into the mindset that you need to get ready, because we're so busy that months can sneak up on us, and that next visit could be right there before you know it. So if you stay ready the entire time, you don't have to get ready. Okay? All right. So let's get on to the next question, because we're running out of time. We only have 10 more minutes. Okay. So the next question, this is from Pam. Hi Pam, if you're here. If you're not here and you watch the replay, hi Pam. She says, any advice on how to build strong relationships with parents and keep them engaged in their child's daycare experience? Okay, so as promised, we're going to be dealing with parent issues here. Just a side note, most of the people that come into my group, when I ask them what their biggest challenge is, 9 times, well, okay, I won't say 9 times out of 10, because there are some other challenges, but at least 7 or 8 times out of 10, they will say parents. Parents. So I know, and I've had to deal with this many times in the past 20 plus years with different clients. And I want to say something that might be a little controversial, but it is, when you really think about it, it is a little bit idealistic, non-realistic, however istic you want to think of it, to think that you are going to get along and be famously friends with every single client that you serve. Sometimes that's not the case. It would be great if it was, but sometimes, you know, personalities clash. Maybe you've had a long day and you're tired, or the parent, you don't know what their home life is and they're dealing with something. And I've had several situations like that. So their mood could be off, and they wind up deflecting that to you. So know that might happen. I'm sure that in your family or with your friends, even though you're friends and your family and you love them, you have conflicts every now and again, and maybe you get into an argument, but you know, that's just being human. That's just being, you know, different persons, different people. We don't always have to agree. I don't always agree with everyone in my circle, but that's okay. They can have their own opinion and I can have mine, and nobody has to be right or wrong. But anyway, getting back to parents. So what I would say is, it might sound too simplistic, but from the beginning, and we'll probably get into this at different times, but if you set up boundaries from the beginning, and I know that sounds like a bad word. Boundary sounds bad. It sounds like we're repelling people and we're pushing them away. But you have a business that more than likely you work in several hours of the day, several hours longer than the average worker. And that being said, whatever your downtime is, whether it be in the evening or on the weekend, whenever that is, you have the right to have a boundary that people shouldn't cross. But you do have to make that known. You do have to let your clients know when they can reach you. At least this is the way I handled it, eventually. Now, in the beginning, I didn't realize that I needed to do this. Okay, and I'm sure that's the case with a lot of providers. We don't realize that we need to do these things. Some of these things seem like common sense, not so much. So eventually I realized I needed to let my parents know from the time they enrolled that I was available between Monday through Friday between these hours, okay? So they knew. I even told them that I turned my notifications off on the weekend, okay? So if they needed to tell me something, they could tell me Monday through Friday, or they could wait till the following Monday morning, okay? I had too many, this is just me personally, but I had too many phone calls during Sunday service. And I couldn't tell. I thought it was family. I thought it was an emergency or something. I'm always getting, nervous. It's an emergency. But I would come out and take the phone call, and it would just be some random client or somebody who wanted to schedule a tour. And I was like, I got to figure out a way to deal with this so that it's not frustrating me. I don't know about you, but I constantly felt like I was always working when I was doing something that was related to the business. So I set up the boundaries for my business and for me personally, and I let them know that ahead of time or in the beginning. Okay, I let them know that we were closed on Saturday and Sunday and I was not available. I let them know the best way to reach me was either through, what did I say, text, because an email, I don't know when I'm going to get to see the email, okay? Most of your emails probably come to your phone, but mine is so full that it won't even come to my phone anymore. So setting up boundaries, believe it or not, is a really good way to start off on the right foot with your clients, with parents, okay? I want to get a couple more points in before we have to go, but the other thing is to constantly keep communication open with them, okay? So a moment ago I said I set those boundaries up in the beginning. Well, I let them know in my handbook, in my contract, what the boundaries were, but I also told them how they could get in contact with me. Like I said, the best ways to get in contact with me, the hours that they could get in contact with me. I started to put out a newsletter once a month, not every week. I think initially I wanted to do it every week. That was too much. I couldn't. But once a month, I communicated with them what we were going to be doing the following month. Like now, this is in the summer. I want to let them know that we're going to have water play, and for the kids in my care, I want them to have certain things for water play. So I want to give them that information ahead of time in probably last month's newsletter, okay? And what they need to bring, and maybe send some things from their cubby home. But constantly staying in communication, finding ways to stay in communication with your families is a way to keep them, keep communication open with them, to let them know what your boundaries are, what they can do when it comes to their child's care or the child care itself. What was something else I was about to say? And keeping them engaged during during Easter time every year. We have an Easter egg hunt, and it's open to not just the children but the families too. If they happen to be off, or if they work from home or whatever, they can come and accompany their children. And actually, for the really little ones, that's very, very helpful. I do give them guidelines and say, well, I want the kids to experience this, so please try not to overhelp. It's okay to assist them. But having events like that, and keeping as many lines of communication open with your parents, with your clients, is a really good way to forge that type of relationship from the beginning. And you can. And just know that, there might be some personality conflicts here and there, and that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't always have to mean a termination, but this is why, we vet our new clients, and I'll get into that at a different time, but we want to make sure that it is a good fit, so that you don't have these conflicts from the start. I had some clients where we had conflicts from the start. I mean, I knew that there was this personality issue or something from the beginning, and yet I still enrolled them. And it wasn't a good fit for them, it wasn't a good fit for me, and it was really quite miserable because they weren't willing to follow the guidelines and policies that we had set up at the daycare. So that's a whole nother matter. We'll get into it probably at a different time. But yeah, try to find ways from the beginning to constantly be communicating with your families without breaking the boundaries that you have around your time, your personal time that you so very much deserve. So yeah. So let me see what time it is. I literally cannot see without this. Okay. Oh, I did it right at 10:30. Awesome. All right. So I hope that some of the things we talked about today resonated with some of you. And let me see. If you do have any questions about your business or any issues that you want to talk about, we're gonna be tackling them all here. Tuition. We'll get more into ways to deal with parents, maybe some family issues, whatever you want to talk about in your business. Because I love a good rant. I love a good rant. But you know what's better than a rant? A rant with a resolution. Some kind of way to resolve the issue. Okay? At least to try. At least to give it a try. So, before I go, all of the things I talked about will be in the show notes. A little bit later I have to compile them. They will be, this replay for this will be on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the replay there. The show notes will be there as well tomorrow afternoon. And I will also leave a link where you can leave your own question ahead of time that we can address next week on the show. And I just want to say, once again, my name is Adrienne Bradley. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm your host for the Daycare Q&A Show, and I am so excited about this show. I really hope that you will join me next week and the weeks to come, and any questions you have, that you will submit them and we can talk about it here. I really would love to get the interaction, so we're going to get that phone call situation up and running too. So yeah, I can't wait to continue this incredible journey with you. And until next week, keep thriving. All right? I'll see you. Have a great week.